Hello. I'm just going to show you how to read these evolution tree. A few people have asked me, but quite a few here have also asked me best way to read them. They're easy, to be honest. But I'll just show you. So this one is the Milan Genoa game, which was on 8th. Yeah, around 8th of this month. It actually finished 1-0. I'll look at that in a bit, but I'll just show you this first. So, if you look on this, you've got 74% 1-0. That's chance rate going to that. 4%, which staying at 0-0. And then you've got 22% 0-1. So, you've got a small chance it could go 0-1. But what you need to look at is, on your worst case scenario, what's next? So, you've got 1-0, 63, 0-1, 27, 0-2, 9. It's not giving you a big, it's not giving me a big percentage on 0-2. Nobody's saying that can't happen, because if you move along and you look at these, he's saying he hasn't really got a chance of staying at that or 0-3. He's saying that Milan had come back with another goal, and then you've got this area to look at, 2-2. 100%. So you're looking at a draw anyway on that one. So going back to this bit, so you've got 74%. The green line is the most. It looks at the past, like so many games. I think this was 50 games where it looked at similar games. And this is the most predicted, should I say, in percentages what it can work at. So you've got 74% 1-0, 48%. Just over, it's going to 2-0, and it gets a bit lower. So you're kind of looking, I mean, that's not bad, 55% to be honest, just notice that. So it's a little bit higher. These are lower. So yeah, so you've got this line to go out first, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0. What I tend to do is if this is very high, I tend not to just go for the 1-0. I tend to go for the 2-0 because if this scoreline comes in, this one goes up anyway, so you make money on this. If you're doing correct scores, if that makes sense. So sometimes I kind of like don't bother about the 1-0. I just put the 2-0 in. And then I'd more than likely look at probably the 3-0 and the 2-1 and then work out what I'm doing from there. You've always got to look at if the, if the away team comes in with a goal. So again, look at this. So we've got this, probably done 3-0, 2-1. So then you've got 27% chance rate staying at that, and 24% chance being 1-0. So then we'll come back down here and we'll look at worst case scenario. If this happens, what's the next outcome? What's the next chance? So there's only 22% chance rate staying at that. That's what it's telling you. They being that goal, that scoreline. And then you've got a 20% chance that it's staying at that, 9% chance of it being 0-2, like I've said, or 63 it being 1-1. So that's what you need to be looking at, these two lines. So you'd already got this. If you put this in 0-1, you've already got it there. But I would suggest putting this in 1-0 because you've got it here as well. So what you'd have is 2-0, 3-0, 2-1, and 1-1. That covers you to move them about. If that makes sense, because like I said to you, because these are higher, if this goes to this, there's more chance of Milan coming back with another goal, as you see in these here. So yeah, that's probably the best way of doing it on the correct scores, because that's when you can move your money about. And the only way you wouldn't make any money on this really is if it went to 0-2, and then nobody could have predicted that anyway, so most people would be at a loss, especially the ones who are just backing it. And 0-0. But if you want, you can cover 0-0, because usually when these scorelines are this strong like this, 0-0, you get a really good price on it, so you could cover 0-0 with a small amount. If you're using BetAngel, you can put small amounts on anyway, you can put pennies on. So you could cover 0-0 just to get your money back if it stays at that. And then obviously if a goal gets scored, that one, that's no longer in play. but hopefully you've got these scorelines covered to make your money back. If you play it right, you read the charts right and read the matches right, you're going to make something out of it. This is what I do, and this is what us members do on Patreon. And worst case, you're just going to break even, or if you do it right, make a very small loss. Because like I said, if there were no goals in this and you've covered 0-0, you're gonna have either cover yourself to break even, or you've created something where you get a little bit out of it, made a little bit. And like I say, if the 0-0 don't come in, you don't put a lot on 0-0, and these outweigh it when you cash them in. So I'm hoping that explains it a little bit. I mean, I will show you. Let me show you how this game went, so we'll get a better idea. So this is the game in question. As you can see, it went to 1-1, and I made something on this game, and quite a few of the members did. And like you see, it went to 0-1, like shown on that chart. What we got, that evolution tree. There on the evolution tree, when it went to this scoreline, it kind of predicted that the next scoreline was going to be 1-1 because it got a 63% chance. It did actually happen at some point here, but it got disallowed, which is a shame, because I think it'd have gone to 2-1 after that, which had left it in a really good position. But we had to wait while near on the end of the game before we got it. We were inevitable, because if you have a look at these, in the second half, the expected goals on the away team was 0.83. But look at the expected goals on this. You know what I mean? On Milan. So they were expecting a goal from him, even at first half. So they were playing quite well. I mean, if you look at the difference, to say, you know what I mean? They were expecting. I mean, the way they were playing, they were expecting one in first half, but obviously that and the disallowed one. But the second half, just as strong. They were really fighting for that goal, and it come in, which is what we wanted. Like I say, you can't win them all. Sometimes it don't work the way you planned. You can't guarantee it, but if you play the odds right and the scoreline's right, you're laughing. So I might have mumbled on a bit then, but the main takeaway from this is, like I say, if you read them properly, we'll go back onto it again. So even though the game didn't go totally how we planned, it still worked in line with this tree, because like I said, the score went to 0-1, which was only a 22% chance. But then, if you look at these, this next scoreline were 1-1. We got that one early, the one we got disallowed. The next scoreline is kind of like between these two, either staying at 1-1 because they're probably trying to play safe, or it'd been 2-1. And then it may possibly have gone to 3-1. So it would have covered itself well. I mean, we'd have only had 3-0 and 2-1 on this, but we'd have moved us money back again, like I said. If you can see that, take a look, pause it, have a look through, and you know what I mean, so you think. But it's, if you look at it, it gives you an idea of where you can, what scorelines you can put on, and when something happens, where you can move your money to your next one. Looking at this, we were expecting it to go to 1-1, so we'd have been moving his money about again. We'd have been looking at these scorelines. Is it going to go to 2-1? Got that covered. If it does go to 2-1, could it go to 3-1? So you could think about covering that, moving some money about. So it'd probably, you could have laid this. You could have laid this off happening, which would have put you more money on this. That kind of thing. You have to be careful, obviously. But what I did with this game, from what I remember, is when it went to 0-1, I got this covered from what I remember. Yeah, I got this covered. And what I did, I waited and waited and waited. Well, literally near the end of the game, I just sat and waited. Just moved a little bit about. And waited while this were really low. And I laid it. I think I can't remember what it got down to now, whether it were like 1.3 or something. I can't remember how it worked out now for laying it. I laid it off a good bit, and then not long after I did that, the goal come in. So what it did is it put me more money on this, you see, and yeah, good times. Right, I'll leave you with that anyway. Not ramble on too much, but yeah, come across. I'm going to put some more. I haven't put any. I've put the week selections on, but I haven't put any more extra ones on for a couple of days. So I will be putting some more on. But yeah, come along and have a look. Or if you're already on it, don't worry, I will be back.